Hey everyone, Brittany and Chris Carmichael here, bringing you the Elevated Life series, where we teach simple mindset shifts to create radical transformation in your life. Today's topic is gonna hit home for all of you, unless you're like a wise guru meditating monk in the Himalayas and you've practiced. Today, we're gonna share 3 ways to avoid overthinking. How many of you guys can relate to this? I think all the time, too much is happening, there's so much going on, I'm confused, I don't even have clarity, I don't even know what to do, I've been thinking so much now. Today is really gonna help you. So if you know someone that would love this message, go ahead and tag them in the comments below or share this video to your page. We appreciate you guys joining us live here for the Elevated Life series.
Yeah, overthinking is such a big deal because, it's estimated now, if you look at the neurological studies, psychology studies, that we think somewhere between 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts per day.
Like, that's a lot.
Per day.
Like a lot.
Every day. And then tomorrow you do the exact same thing with different thoughts. And the worst part is...
Like, could you even count to 50,000 in one day? Honestly.
Yeah, and so the even worse part, the saddest part about it is the fact that over 90% of those thoughts are negative, self-limiting, self-defeating. And so we have to get out of that overthinking. And the biggest problem with it is that a lot of times it's hard to recognize because it's so automatic that it just happens, and then suddenly we don't realize, oh my gosh, I'm being swept away by all this crap, and it's just these habits that I've been conditioned to do.
So before we dive into these 3 tips to avoid overthinking, I just want to take a moment to say hello to everyone who's here live. I see my mom and my grandma, even Michael Virtue is here. So exciting, guys. Miss Lindsay Attaway. Oh my gosh, so fabulous to have you guys here on the Elevated Life series. So let's talk about the first tip that you can do to avoid overthinking. And that is to use and exhaust the physical body, because you have to remember the brain is an organ in the physical body.
This is something that I noticed that was really effective. You got a lot of people that have trouble sleeping at night because they stay in bed and they use their phone, they scroll through social media, and it's all this thinking stuff. Well, if you work out towards the night, if you're so exhausted, you've done so much during the day, you've worked hard, you've moved that body, a lot of times you're so tired, the body's like, dude, I don't even have time to think right now. And so what ends up happening is you can start to relax those thoughts. You're tying up your conscious mind with all these physical movements.
Yeah, do some squats to eliminate your thoughts, literally. If you start engaging in physical movement, just right there, right where you're at, you'll begin to erase some of the overthinking that's happening. It'll just automatically begin to soothe.
And a lot of times the reason why that works so well is because when you're doing physical movements and you're moving really fast, your breath starts to take you away. And what you notice is the more that you tap into that breathing, the less you're tapping into your thoughts. Because in order to control that neurological system, you're breathing with that slow, constant cadence. Even if it's a fast pace like you're running, suddenly the thoughts will just start to escape and you reach that meditative state. You've heard it as the runner's high, or like people do yoga and stuff like that. You go into this meditative state, and that's
Blissed
because
out.
You have to start concentrating on your breathing.
Yeah, so how many of you, leave in the comments below, identify as an overthinker? How many of you are aware of all of these thoughts that are coming up all the time? It's meditation that is the tool to quiet the mind, but I hear so often, well, I'm not good at meditating. I'm not good at that. Well, none of us are good at things that we don't practice. And meditation is a practice to become aware of watching, being the witness, and be aware of the thoughts that are coming up.
And the other thing about...
I didn't even realize I was talking to myself. Chris asked me, hey, do you ever talk to yourself? I'm like, no. And then inside I'm talking about, why would I ever talk to myself? Some of us don't even realize that we do have these thoughts, that we are talking to ourselves. And if you become aware of those thoughts and those phrases and the words and the beliefs that are coming up, you can then identify if they're positively supporting you or they're negatively tearing you down.
This next part, the second tip that we have for you guys is really, really effective, and that is overthinking is difficult to avoid, right? But what we can do is we can control it. And the way that I like to do this, I like to think, if this is not going to matter in 5 years, I've got 5 minutes to think about it. I've only got 5 minutes. So if someone cuts you off and you're still mad about it 30 minutes later, you didn't work it out.
You've given your power away,
yeah,
honestly.
You've let them have it. And so you got 5 minutes. So limit that overthinking. If you're going to do it, limit it. And then say, for these next 5 minutes, I'm going to think the hell out of this thing. I'm going to think it. I'm going to raise up all these emotions. But as soon as that 5 minutes goes away, fade it out. And so, a lot of times you can come right back to how you're feeling. you get to express the emotion, you get to feel it, you get to recognize those mental processes, but then an hour later, you're not caring about it anymore because you realize it's time to let it go.
You guys are freaking awesome today. I'm loving all the hearts and the comments and the likes. Thank you guys so much. You guys mean so much to us. So the third thing that is going to help you to stop overthinking, and if you've ever heard the phrase analysis paralysis, this is part of it. This is going to be the thing that helps you to stop doing that, because if you weigh too many ideas back and forth, you're like, I'm over it. It's kind of like Chris and I experienced this last week, trying to decide, will we move? Are we going to stay? Will we move? Are we going to stay? And after about 4 days of constant thinking about it, I was exhausted physically. I had to take a nap during the day, which was crazy. I normally save my naps until Sunday, but because I was thinking so much, I was burning a lot of energy, and it was really wearing me down, and I could physically tell the difference in my body, because I don't think too much, guys. I feel my way through life. And so to activate my brain and to think a lot, it really caused a lot of energetic exhaustion.
Yeah, and you'll realize that as you think, what you think about in your mind tends to be physically realized in the body. So a lot of people like exhausted at the end of the day. You're like, oh, what'd you do? Did you go out and run a 5K or a 10K or something? No, I didn't do any of that. I just sat in bed and thought all day, and I'm exhausted because of it. And so instead of doing that, you've got to give yourself that little time limit. You've got to give yourself that 5 minutes. Think about it and let it go.
Yeah, so the third tip is to stop repeating your story. And let's be clear on what we're talking about. Your negative story. If you want to repeat a positive story, go for it, because you'll just anchor more of that positive abundance into your life. But for the most part, when people are repeating a story over and over and over, it's typically a limiting story. So it's important to tune into, what are you, like, let's say you have a situation that you're thinking about. Do I change jobs? Do I move? Do I do this? And then you go to your mom, then you go to your friend, then you go to your partner, then you go to this person, then you tell your hairdresser, because I know, trust me, I've been listening for 10 years, and you tell the same story over and over and over, and it is implemented and imprinted into your subconscious as truth and as belief. So it's really important that you pay attention to the story that you're constantly telling yourself.
Yeah.
Mom says, let it go, Louie.
Yeah, it's so true. And you have to realize that what your story does is narrow the amount of doors of opportunity and perception that you have. So if you're constantly going straight through one door, you actually won't see the other possibilities that are there for you. So if you're only repeating one story, one of the funnest things to do is just change the story that you're telling everybody. Just change it up a little bit, and then notice how different you feel inside. You'll start to have more doorways and more opportunities that open up. Again, if you're just going in one linear fashion, it's very difficult for you to see all the other solutions that are out there for you.
Yeah, I think it's really important to pay attention to what the internal story is before you speak it into existence. My mom, sweet old wise bird here, told me to think before you speak. And I remember being so sarcastic internally and being like, if you only knew what I was thinking before I spoke. And that has been a very valuable lesson into my adult years. As a kid, I didn't give a shit. But as an adult, I really do. I'm really conscious of the words that I'm speaking, because our words, I mean, think about it. God spoke and the world was created. So our words create our reality. Our thoughts first, then the words and the actions that follow, because it all begins in here first.
Yeah, it's so important. You know, if you think of your words as real prayers, and if you think of your thoughts as silent prayers, and that's what you're going to bring into your life, and that's what you're going to manifest, that's what you're going to create, you end up realizing like the only person who's been living in your whole life really is you. And it's in what you're thinking, and it's in what you're saying to other people. And again, when you start to change that story, when you start to internally change what you're saying to yourself, and then when you externally say it to other people, you end up changing your whole life. And it sounds like, oh man, it can't be that easy. It's that easy. It's that easy. You just haven't practiced it yet. Just try it for a few times, just for the rest of the weekend, for the next week. Change a little bit of your story up and notice what things start happening in your life. It's so wild how quickly everything can change and turn around.
And you know, you're so used to making up BS stories that aren't true, that like, I'm not good enough, or I'm not this, or I'm not that. And you're okay with making up false stories and living and acting out those intentions and those thoughts. So I just encourage you to make up a new story, even if it's not real because you're already doing that, but make it more positive. Make it so wild beyond your biggest dreams that it's like, holy smokes, like, wouldn't that be amazing if that happened? And you know what? Eventually it will be realized, so long as you hold that faith and belief that you are headed in that direction, because it's what you hold on to, the thoughts, the beliefs, and the feelings that you're experiencing that are going to attract to you the experiences in your life.
Woo.
I know, right?
Bang, bang.
Any questions that you guys have about overthinking? Let's say you get into a pattern where you self-sabotage because you start to analyze and overthink. Go ahead and leave your questions, your comments, your aha moments from today's video in the chat roll below, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have about overthinking or what do I do to fix this? And I hope that these 3 simple tips will help you to quiet down that crazy monkey mind, they call it. Anne says, this is so true. This week I got an award for my volunteering for early learning, and seeing the bio someone wrote helped me see a new story. Yeah, it's, you know, when I was writing my website for OMG Hairstyles, I was supposed to write in about me, about the business. And, you know, because we're in our own story, we're in the center of the tornado, it's sometimes so hard to see what you offer to the world and what your talents are and how you really are making a difference. And so I asked Chris, hey, do you think you could write my about me for OMG Hairstyles? And he wrote a short, simple paragraph, and it made me cry because I realized I'm doing way more and contributing way more love and positivity and change into the world than I even realized by just being a hairdresser.
That's so important because so few of us realize just how magical and special and how much we matter to the world. We don't see it because, again, we live behind our own internal beliefs, and our own self-image is kind of what dictates those. And so when you let other people come in, you know, one of the best things you can do is ask several people, some of your closest friends, say, hey, can you tell me 3 things that I do really well? And you ask several people about this, you're like, damn, I'm way cooler than I thought I was. Or, you know, life is so much better than I thought. And everyone sees me as this positive impact on the world. And when you start hearing that from other people and you start bringing it into your own belief system, again, so much stuff can change, and it can be so wonderful and so magical because you're finally accepting that you are a badass, and you don't have to limit yourself anymore, and you don't have to play small, that life can open up for you and really deliver all those things that you've ever wanted.
Yes.
Ooh, happy Friday.
How did you guys like that? That felt really good. So if you find yourself overthinking this weekend, pop a squat, start moving your physical body, do some jumping jacks, jump up and down. And if you get a little frustrated and you're really thinking really hard about something, set a 5-minute timer and think. Just think yourself until you can't think anymore. You've overthunk it, you're tired, you're exhausted, you're over it, and then move on. Because you can only think so much about a certain subject until you're being asked to take action and to move and to feel your way through life. So this weekend, I encourage you to get out of your head space and move down into your heart space and feel your way through each moment. Ask yourself, how does this feel? Am I contributing joy and happiness to this moment right now? And when you do that, you don't even have to think about what you need to do or how you're not doing it. You just begin to start acting. Dana says, I love this so freaking much. Yay. I don't know what whoever's doing these like weird negative faces, but maybe you're thinking too much. Thank you guys for the hearts. Thank you so much for being here. And Amanda says, you both look ready for summer.
Oh, yes.
Girl, it's been summer in Texas for a month now.
Yeah, we're hitting 90s every day now. So
yeah, so thank you guys for joining us here on the Elevated Life series. We love joining you every Friday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time to share these simple, life can be simple and freaking amazing at the same time. You don't have to overcomplicate it, and you definitely don't have to overthink about it. So enjoy this weekend, feel your way through it, and hey, it's Mother's Day, so connect with someone who offers you love and nurturing, and reciprocate that back. Whether it's your mom or it's a girlfriend, it doesn't matter. Go out there and open your heart space, give love, and nurture somebody that you care about.
Oh, thank you guys for joining us. Lots of love out to all of you.
So much love to you guys. Thank you for joining us. If you like this video, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you share it, tag it, comment a friend, whatever you need to do to get it out there. We appreciate your support and love here in the Elevated Life series. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye.